Let's spend a few moments now talking about understanding the Microsoft IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS offering technologies that we have in our Microsoft Cloud services. Now, to begin with, you have IaaS. This is infrastructure as a service. Now, the concept of infrastructure as a service is to offer computing power to companies that are looking to move things out in the cloud and allow a cloud company to host these services for them online. So instead of, again, you setting up your own physical servers in your environment, or even setting up physical servers and then setting up virtual servers in your environment and offering those servers to your clients, in this case, you can host all of that out in Microsoft's cloud services, which is mostly Azure, right? Azure is their main infrastructure as a service technology. Okay, and of course, there are concepts in which with IaaS where we can host virtual servers, virtual machines, have virtual guest operating systems running on there, and then have these services made available to our users. And they can even offer some other types of things on top of their IaaS service. And of course, that's where it sort of plays upon SaaS, which is software as a service, and PaaS, which is platform as a service. But I'll expand on those coming up here in just a moment. Now, the idea of this, though, is they're going to be offering you their data center, their buildings, their air conditioning and power, and their massive amount of redundancy that they provide. Microsoft can actually provide you with an insane amount of redundancy, especially for your data. In other words, if something happens to their servers, their equipment, their data center, whatever it is, Microsoft has an extreme amount of redundancy there that they're going to provide you as part of their SLA, which is their service level agreement. Okay, you get a minimum of a 99.9% of the time, but when you start getting up into the storage area of Azure, they actually offer up to 15 nines of actual redundancy. So basically, in a month's period, your downtime should be microseconds, not even noticeable, if you actually pay for that extra redundancy. So with IaaS and having all these data centers, you're talking, they've got something like 60-something regions, 60-something areas of the world where they've got data centers. In most of those regions, they have at least 3 data centers that they're dealing with. So you're talking an extreme amount of equipment here, an extreme amount of redundancy. And of course, with that comes all the equipment being able to offer you CPU, RAM, storage, network. And that's really what IaaS is all about. You're paying for the computing power, the CPU, the RAM, the storage, the networking, and you're paying for what you use, essentially, okay? In regards to that computing power, CPU, RAM, storage. They provide other services such as firewall and load balancing, and essentially Microsoft will host virtual appliances out there, just like where in a physical network you would buy physical equipment to do these jobs. Well, with IaaS, they're offering you the virtualization of it all. They're virtualizing equipment and making that available, and you basically pay for what you use. You pay a monthly fee for what you use. Now, there's also PaaS. Some people just pronounce it PaaS, platform as a service. Now, platform as a service, this is a step up from IaaS. So they're handling the data center, the equipment, the air conditioning and power and redundancy, the networking, storage, virtual appliance, the storage of all of it, the operating systems themselves, and they can even provide you with the tools you need to host applications and provide services of your own. So they're providing some actual platforms, databases, and web-based portals and interfaces to do this. Okay, Office 365, for example, Microsoft 365 itself, Microsoft 365 being a platform as a service, Office 365 is partly a platform as a service, but also Office 365 is a software as a service. But essentially what they're doing with PaaS is they're offering this web-based platform for managing applications and giving people access in different instances of that platform as a service can be offered to your users, or even if you were some kind of a service provider yourself, you could offer these to your customers. And so the idea is, with a platform as a service, is anybody that is a tenant, which is somebody that is subscribed to the Microsoft services, can get an instance of a particular platform that they can use, the Microsoft 365 services being a platform that they can use. Now, the funny thing about platforms as service as well is some of it can be pay as you go, pay for what you use, and some of it is just based on licenses. So it's kind of a mix. You'll have part of it being geared more towards IaaS, which is paying for what you use, and then another chunk of it is paying for just a license to use certain tools and get access to certain things, as we have with Office 365 and the Microsoft 365 services themselves. Now, again, the Microsoft 365 service, the big platform used to be called Office 365, and then they changed the name over the last couple of years to Microsoft 365, being the main PaaS platform. And that's where the confusion comes, because now they're saying what they were saying is Office 365 is a platform as a service and a software as a service, which you still can say that, but now what they've done is they're saying that Microsoft 365 is their main platform as a service. Office 365 is sort of a mix, but the app side of Office 365 is geared more towards SaaS, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So again, the key to understanding PaaS, platform as a service, is Microsoft in this case is offering a whole set of web-based platform tools that you can configure yourself. It's an instance of all of these tools and all these services. You can configure them yourselves. They offer databases and everything to go with them, and then you can use them for your own environment. Some of the cost is going to involve pay for what you use, and some of it is going to involve just paying a licensing fee for whichever services that you're going to be using. They provide all sorts of things. For example, Kubernetes. If you've never heard of Kubernetes, it allows you to generate these things called containers and do orchestration of containers, managing instance of these virtualized containers on the fly. So imagine if you were a company that wanted to host a bunch of web services, and you needed to be able to scale those web services to an ungodly amount, meaning, for example, in part of the year, maybe you're an e-commerce company, and you do sales online, and you have a certain amount of customers that are hitting your website throughout the year, but then all of a sudden the holiday season hits, and then you're getting way more hits than you used to. Kubernetes is a platform as a service that can actually scale out your web services into these little things called containers, and it can generate them very fast and a large amount of them to handle the amount of load that you've got coming in from, say, web services. And then, of course, holiday season ends, and maybe you're not getting the amount of load that you used to get. It can scale it back. Okay. The other thing platform as a service brings to the table is a lot of development tools. So if you're a developer company and you're developing software, they offer everything you need for handling all of that. So platform as a service, definitely kind of a cross between IaaS and SaaS in the way that it's implemented. And finally, understanding SaaS, sometimes referred to as SaaS. All right. So software as a service is offering a piece of software as a service that's going to be maintained by Microsoft. Their big software as a service is Office 365, which again, the confusing part of that is that has always been also a platform as a service as well. So I know that's a little bit confusing. Now what they're sort of getting at is that they're saying, okay, well, Microsoft 365, even though Office 365 is part of Microsoft 365, it's a platform as a service. And then Office 365, if you're speaking purely about, deploying Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and all that, that is SaaS. Okay. So yes, if I was to ask you the question, is Office 365 software as a service, I would say yes, it is. Is it also a platform as a service? Yes. However, if you're purely talking about the management of Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all these apps, then you would just purely be thinking in regards of software as a service. So I know that it walks a line of being both sides, but you can technically say that Office 365 is SaaS, software as a service. Okay, so software as a service means that the cloud provider is handling everything, including the application itself, and basically you are paying to use that application, or if you will, you're renting that application to be used over the web or to get access to it. And even downloadable software can be seen as software as a service. So for example, with Office 365, you can have a license for that. You can download the Office apps, which is called Apps for Enterprise, formerly known as Pro Plus, and you basically have access to all these applications that you can download and you can use. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of that you can download and you can use. And of course, if you don't pay your monthly license fee, then eventually your software will get deactivated. Okay, so that's how that works with software as a service. So it can be a web-based software that you get access to, that you pay usually a monthly fee to get to, or it can be a downloadable app. Okay. In most cases, software as a service is you pay a license fee to get access to it, as opposed to paying like the CPU, the storage, the RAM, all of that stuff. Okay. All right. So hopefully that gives you guys a good understanding now of the differences in regards to IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS in the Microsoft cloud environment.